In today's class, we are going to look at forms of vector expression. Saka, this lesson is simply a summary of what we already know, because pama lessons esatakaita, we were applying these forms of vector expression. So our first note is going to be, there are three forms of vector expression. So kana tichiti vector expression, what exactly are we referring to? In simple terms, tiri kungoti manyorero atinoita mavectors. So these three forms of vector expression, tine yatinoti coordinate form, tine yatinoti column form, tozopedzisira neyatinoti vector form. So these are the three forms of vector expression. So let us look at our number one, coordinate form. Saka, for the coordinate form, it is essential and material to have a small recall. Patakaona kuti we are dealing with 3D vectors, three-dimensional vectors, anenge ari in this space. Something like this, where we have an x-axis, a y-axis, and a z-axis. Also important, sometimes we use different letters to denote these dimensions, where this is I, J, and K. Tikazvita juxtapose tiri kuti x, y, z, or I, J, and K, like that. So that is the coordinate form. Saka, coordinate form is directly linked to these dimensions. Okay, what is going to be our first note? The three directions, kanoti dimensions, x, y, and z, are expressed in row form. Saka panapa, for coordinate form, tiri kuti vectors are expressed in row form. And if we are to cite an example, katiti we have vector A, we write it like this: 3 minus 2, 6. This is our example. Saka pa example pedu, what's important to note is 3 anenge ari x, then y ndi minus 2, z ndi 6, or I, J, K, like that. So that is the coordinate form. Manyorero atinongeta ma coordinates when we were using x, y at the same form we are going to write, but in this case we are referring to a vector. If we now go to our number 2, which is the column form. Saka column form ndio the most ndingati famous, kana kuti ndio form yatinowanza kushanda nayo, nepamusana pekuti it is the easiest form to do calculations with. Saka the column form, three directions, dimensions, x, y, and z are expressed in column form. Saka here we have vectors expressed in column form. And an example is so obvious. We have a position vector OA, which is 3 minus 2, 6. Saka panapa tatora example yatashandisa under coordinate form, ndiyo yatazoita express under column form. Saka it's important to take note of what is happening here. Saka panapa we are only referring it to vector A. Saka tukunyora A, which is the term for the vector, then tuatanyora ma coordinates acho. But kana takuinyora in column form, A unoyu takumrecognize as a position vector, because ingechita originate from the origin. Then tonyora in column form 3 minus 2, 6. Saka these different forms, you should know them. Pakuti A becomes OA, then 3 minus 2, 6 becomes 3 minus 2, 6, like that. Saka, that is what we are talking about kana tichitaura about this column form. Our number 3, the vector form. Saka for vector form tiri kuti the 3 directions or dimensions x, y and z are associated by a plus or minus sign. Saka tiri kuti vectors are associated by a plus or minus sign. And what's important panapa, you should know kuti plus and minus signs denote direction. And when you are doing vectors, especially under subjects like physics, mufonga kuziya kuti the convention is ma vectors akatarisa mudenga or ma vectors akatarisa ku right or ma vectors anenge ari in between, they are denoted as positive. This is just convention, like that. It's a standardized way of thinking. Then ma vectors anenge akatarisa pasi ku left or a combination do anenge ari denoted as negatives. But this usually applies to those who are studying vectors under physics. To us, we just have to know that the vector form inenge ine plus and minus operators, and vector form is what I'm going to refer to as dimension indicators. And what are these dimension indicators? X, Y, Z, or I, J, K, dimension indicators. And our example here, it's going to be OA. We recognize position vectors is then 3I minus 2J plus 6K, and it or OA denoted 3x minus 2y plus 6c. Do maitiro atinoziita. If you have derived a benefit from these lessons, please may you consider subscribing, liking and sharing. And if you want to join our private class, you can WhatsApp us on this number and we'll see how best we can help each other. Thank you.